catch me balling like I'm in the end zone. I got my homies in the no new friend zone. You know, making plays that land us in the end zone. Coming in clutch, you can catch me in the end zone. End zone.
What is happening, people, and welcome back to In the End Zone UK, your home for all things NFL and much, much, much more. It is the lead up to Super Bowl 60. Yes, indeed, the Super Bowl is this week. It's on its way. The biggest game in football will happen next Sunday, and we are ready for it. However, this week is a little bit different. There is no meaningful football on the field that has been played over this weekend. It's Pro Bowl week. It's a bye week in the calendar. But do not worry, we are still here. Because this week is huge. This week is a moment to reflect on an incredible season, to hand out individual honours, to look at which franchises have hit reset, and more importantly, start locking in for the Super Bowl. So with me today to discuss all of this and to get hype for Super Bowl 60, we have no little Camo. He's away on holiday, but what we do have is Big Dave. Big Dave, welcome back to the poddy. How are you doing this week? Are you well rested without a weekend of football?
Yeah, it's been a bit, it's almost like a precursor to the off season where Sunday was a normal day. By normal, I mean rubbish, boring, uneventful. But no, I'm ready for, I mean, this week's, no one's interested in the Pro Bowl, are they? I guess the only thing that comes out is the NFL honors, which is the only thing, I guess, worth talking about. But yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. You're right. I mean, we've kind of had it slowly peters out within the NFL season. So because we've had the playoffs, we've not had like that 6 p.m. Sunday game now for a few weekends, but it means we've had to stay up later and watch later games. Me and you were up watching the Seahawks and the Broncos game until gosh knows what time a couple of weeks ago, which ruined me for the rest of the week, going to bed at about 4 a.m. But now we're in that position where there is no football. There's no Sunday 6 o'clock red zone to sit in your pants, switch it on, 7 hours, uninterrupted, Scott Hansen. And that makes me a little bit sad.
Yeah, it's that 6 o'clock. I can't wait for it to come back around. But when it's not there, you have to almost find something else to do. And I don't know how normal people operate. I don't know what they look forward to on a Sunday evening. Antiques Roadshow, Lovejoy. I don't know what else. What else is there?
I don't know.
Towers.
You're living in the 80s, Dave.
Maybe I'm just reliving my childhood. I sat on the floor watching Antiques Roadshow, thinking, "What are these parents making me watch?"
These crusty oldies trying to sell a chess set from the 1930s for about 28 quid. It is, yeah, it's definitely a lack of excitement. And please, I mean, for those that are more normal than me and Dave out there, let us know what you do on a Sunday afternoon when there's no football around, because we're stumped. We don't know what to do. I just want to watch like reruns of old games. I'm going to do it in the off season. I think you do that day, Dave.
Yeah, but I only watch the games that the Titans win, so normally I'm done after about 2 weeks of rewatches. It's a little bit different for the Seahawks because you've got an extended season, but you won plenty of games this year. If I was to go through our 3 wins,
Wouldn't take very long.
No.
It's a good way to do it though. So fans, if you're out there, if you're missing football, do what Dave does. Stick your team on, watch every game that you won. Don't wallow in the sadness of the losses, and look forward to the next season. And that's essentially what we're going to be doing on this podcast. So we've got a bunch of segments this week that we're going to get through for our listeners and for the end of the NFL season. You know, we've got the NFL honors that Dave mentioned, which is, you know, the official NFL honors is where we celebrate MVP awards and awards given out to individual players for outstanding achievements. We're going to do our own In the End Zone UK version of end of season awards. We're also going to talk coaches, coaching moves, coaching chaos, because there has been a lot of front office, back office moves in the NFL this offseason. Particularly, there were a bunch of firings during the season and then a whole host more after the season. So we're going to get to talking about what those mean for the teams that have fired and rehired. And then finally, we're going to get into Super Bowl 60 mega preview. We've touched on it on previous podcasts, but me and Dave are just going to get into the detail a little bit more about the Seahawks taking on the New England Patriots at Super Bowl 60. We're going to give you a little bit of a deep dive into what we think we might be in store for this week coming. But to start with, Dave, we will get into our end of season awards. And this is the week where individual brilliance gets recognised. The players and coaches who stood out across a very long, brutal NFL season finally get recognised. And we'll run through the major end of season awards and talk about who deserves the hardware and why. We're going to talk MVP, Offensive Player of the Year, Defensive Player of the Year, Combat Player of the Year, Offensive Rookie, Defensive Rookie, and Coach of the Year. So there's a lot to get through. We may as well start talking about it now. I think we'll work our way up to the top. MVP is the top. Let's work from the bottom. Whilst this is probably not the worst award, it always seems to come last in the pecking order. But we're going to talk about these, or the new versions of these, in the next segment. But let's talk about coaches, Dave. Let's talk about Coach of the Year. Leadership, culture, maximising the roster. There's been a lot of coaches that have done very good things this year. You know, unexpected wins, taking franchises from the very bottom to either competitive or even the very top. But Coach of the Year, let's talk about that. Dave, who is your Coach of the Year, or do you have honourable mentions that you want to talk about before you actually give your Coach of the Year? You take us through it. Who you want to talk about?
I mean, I guess of the five that are on the list, so Liam Cohen with the Jags, Ben Johnson with the Bears, Mike McDonald with the Seattle Seahawks, Kyle Shanahan with the 49ers, and Mike Vrabel with the New England Patriots. I think there's three that probably deserve it. So Ben Johnson, Mike McDonald, and then Mike Vrabel. Two of them obviously, Vrabel and Johnson, they're both with new teams, both teams that pretty much sucked last year. I know the Patriots definitely did. And then Mike McDonald, what was your record last year? Did you have 10 wins or something?
Yeah, we won 10, but we didn't make the playoffs because of the standings, but we won 10 games, yeah.
Yeah, so, and then obviously McDonald to build on last season's 10-win season to not only winning 14 games, but also being the number one seed, I think is a huge thing, especially in that division. You know, you've got the Niners, which are obviously a powerhouse. They've been a powerhouse for sort of the last probably 7 years, 7 or 8 years now. The Rams, who were essentially who we thought were the favourites probably halfway through the season with the way Stafford was playing.
Yeah, you know, and Sean McVay being such a great coach as well, whose name's not on this list, but he's phenomenal. Yeah,
so to take your team to the top of that division and also the top of the NFC, you know, he's no small feat. And I think the sad thing about it is I don't think he's going to win it.
No.
And I think he's going to see himself, because it's not, I don't want to say it's a first year coach award, but they're going to be good probably now moving forward. And I think he's missed his opportunity to win it, which is a bit shit.
I know what you mean.
You know,
yeah.
I feel like they're always going to be too good, and there's going to be that one person every year that's going to turn a team around that's going to deserve it. And I think that's why I think Vrabel is probably the guy that's going to win it. You know, the Patriots had 2 back-to-back 4-win seasons. He's taken them from obscurity back to the promised land of the Super Bowl. So I think he's going to end up winning it. Although I think he's a great coach, and he's that head honcho. You know, he's not the defensive coordinator, he's not the offensive coordinator. He's just a guy that leads men. Whereas I think that Ben Johnson obviously calls plays, and so does Mike McDonald. Yeah, you know, I think that's probably where it should go. But I think Vrabel, because people like Vrabel, and he's turned that team completely around. I think that's the reason it'll go to him.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, we sort of shared our views on some of these awards once the season had ended. And for listeners out there, generally speaking, these awards are given pre-playoffs, right? They're to essentially take into account what has been achieved in the regular season. They don't then take on a life of the playoffs and the narrative post-regular season into the Super Bowl. But of those 3 coaches, 2 of them are going to the Super Bowl. Vrabel's made it there by hook or by crook, certainly in the playoffs by crook. And Mike McDonald is also making it there with my Seahawks. And I think at the end of the regular season, if it's a regular season award, even as a Seahawks fan, I think I gave it to Vrabel. Since then, I've looked at like sort of what the team's been doing and the type of road that they've had this year, and it's kind of took the shine off it a little bit for me. And I'm not poo-pooing them at all. I'm actually taking them very seriously for the Super Bowl, as I hope everyone should be. Whilst I've seen a lot of people out there, saying that the Seahawks have won it and everything, that's definitely not the case. The more I think about it, I feel like it's definitely not the case. It's going to be a game, but I don't know. I feel like to your point, Dave, somebody who's his first year he got there, he won 10 games, and that was considered a great achievement for Mike Macdonald at the Seahawks. He's then gone and eclipsed that with 14 wins, and you can't take it into account, but as a narrative behind it, he's also got to the Super Bowl. There's been a lot of changes in the team as well that I think have to be noted. A new quarterback, getting rid of your number one wide receiver and riding with someone else. And I know that that's also a GM sort of thing, but I know he had a full hand in that Sam Darnold piece and everything. Part of me wants to give it to Mike Macdonald just to say probably never going to get it, because now the expectation will be so high. And being in that division as well, I think the opposite is that Mike Vrabel's in a division with the frickin' Jets and the Dolphins, who have stunk so hard. And even the games that they played during the season, they had a really easy route. But from a coach perspective, your job is to get the job done, isn't it? And to win games. And that's what he's done. And he's built a really strong team in the off season, a team that is night and day from last year and the year before ago. So I do think it's up in the air. I think this one, for me, I'm just going to say Mike Macdonald just because. Why not? Because I think that actually it's a hard thing to do what he's done. And he's called plays. And I think Vrabel's maybe had like a slightly easier ride, whilst I do respect it. So you're saying Vrabel, I'm saying Macdonald.
Yeah, I wouldn't be mad if Macdonald got it.
Okay,
I think I think all three of them are equally deserving of it from a regular season perspective. Getting the number one seed is not easy. Especially in your division. And neither is turning around a franchise. So
no, yeah, both deserve a lot of credit. Okay, cool. That's our head coach award, head coach and coach of the year. Now we go into rookies. Let's talk about the offensive side of the ball. An offensive rookie. It's a instant impact player, potentially franchise changing person that can come in and make your offense move. Middle of the season, I feel like this would have been super, super hard to call. And then it maybe has just balanced out a little bit more. And we'll talk about some other players, because I think, as usual, Dave, me and you are quite aligned with a lot of what we think and who we like to watch. We like the same style of football, I think, and we've got the same sort of expectations. But in terms of rookies of the year, let's talk about those and who you think has had the sort of biggest impact on offense.
Yeah, okay, so the rookie offensive, the 5 finalists for that: Jackson Dart, the Giants; Emeka Ibuka of the Bucks; Trayvon Henderson of the Patriots; Tetero McMillan from the Panthers; and Tyler Sugar is the quarterback for the Saints.
Right. Okay.
I don't know if there's been any standout guy, really. I think I would give it to McMillan.
Yeah.
But I think at the start of the season, you would have said it was Ibuka.
Absolutely. The first 4 games, he was ridiculous.
I think if Trayvon Henderson had have played all the games of the Patriots, I think he would have been the runaway winner of it. But it's difficult, Tyler Shug, he looked great for the Saints. I didn't think he was anything when they drafted him, but he's looked good for them. Jackson Dart's had his moments, but I think ultimately I'd probably go with McMillan.
Yeah, Panthers wide receiver. See, there's a maybe one or two, certainly one name that's not in there that at the start of the season you'd have thought, definitely maybe. And Tyler Warren, the tight end from the Colts, if Danny Dimes had not been injured, he was really, really like cooking with gas, wasn't he? And then as soon as they lost their quarterback, they lost any opportunity of feeding him the ball. But he was taking jet sweeps and lining up as a running back, catching balls everywhere. He was great. I had him in fantasy, and so I was watching it, and then all of a sudden he just fell off a cliff because they didn't have a quarterback, which is expected. And then as you said, Emeka Ibuka, I watched him, put a hurting on a lot of teams, including the Seahawks, who were banged up at the time we played them, and he just looked like they'd rolled in another game-changing number one receiver, another Mike Evans / Chris Godwin. I still think he's going to be great. I just don't know. He didn't have that impact down the stretch. I think Jackson Dart's massively overrated. I can't lie. I wouldn't have put him in there, and this might be music to your ears, hopefully so, but I'd have put Cam Ward in over Jackson Dart in this mix, just so you know. What I saw, like physically saw, and I saw him in person, and he beat the Eagles, to be fair to him as well. But what I saw from Jackson Dart was just not good quality football. It wasn't like, oh, this guy's going to be a superstar in the NFL. It was this guy at his own physical detriment is going to try and win games by getting concussed and headbutting his CTE riddled friend, the running back. I can't remember his name. Cam
Scatterblow.
That's the one. Yeah. And it just didn't feel like. I mean, again, Giants fans out there probably you might be thinking that Dart is your quarterback, and where you're picking in the draft and the quarterbacks that are available, he might have to be. I'd have put Cam Ward in there, Dave. I would, just from what I could see in terms of like his pure passing ability. I know he didn't win many games, neither did the flipping Giants. And I thought Dart was a one-trick pony by the end of the season. One read and go, one read and get concussed, one read and get injured. He made some nice throws. He ran in a few touchdowns. Cool. It doesn't look like he's going to be like something that would be long, like stand up in the NFL as longevity. Whereas Cam Ward looks like, I know he got injured on the last play of the game in the last game of the season, but he looks like a pure passer. And he looks like somebody who can carry a franchise. And I don't think Dart does. So for me, if you're looking at rookies, who's going to have the biggest impact and who is the most impactful, it would have been, he wouldn't have been my final, but he'd have been in there.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you about Dart. And I think the Giants the Giants tried to trade so hard for Cam Ward that it must be a bit of a shitter for Jackson Dart. But I think they must be happy with what they've got. I think he's a finalist in this because he had about 19 rushing touchdowns.
Yeah.
He's, I don't know how many passing touchdowns he had, but total touchdowns, I think he had maybe like 20 or something like that. But again, I don't think he's the future. I think he's going to be a short-lived quarterback there.
Yeah.
I don't think he's got the skill. I don't think he's got the ability to do what a Cam Ward's got with his arm. He's obviously a bit of a gunslinger, Jackson Dart, and he can move. But I'm glad that Cam Ward isn't like that because I don't want him to get injured. I was annoyed when he got injured on that play in the last game of the season because that could have been a more serious injury. Thankfully, he doesn't need surgery, but you don't want your franchise quarterback getting absolutely mauled. Just use your arm like you're meant to, and he's got the ability to make off-platform throws that Jackson Dart hasn't got, and that's why I'm happy that we've got him.
Exactly, and that would be my point of like putting him in there. I think is that I think he'll be relevant for much longer.
Yeah, I think that Colston Loveland should have been in here. I don't know why he's not a finalist for this.
How is he not? Yeah, he was great.
He was unbelievable the second half of the year, and I don't know. A lot of these things, like all things, are popularity contests. The Titans never. I mean, I'm moaning, but we've got two guys at the Pro Bowl and two guys that were all pro. DK and Big Jeff Simmons, but we don't get the publicity. We don't get the primetime games. And rightly so, we've not played well enough to earn them, but neither of the Giants, but obviously they're a massive media market. So a lot of these players, I feel like, are there because of maybe the place they play in. If they've not necessarily a great season because they were a popular rookie in that area, they've got in there. But what do I know?
Agreed. But I think, following it back on track for the award, I think I would probably have to go where you're going as well with T-Mac, as he likes to be called, but Tatoria McMillan. I mean, ultimately, he had over 1,000 yards receiving, which is great for a rookie. 7 touchdowns, which is, I think it was tied for like 15th or 15th. If you're saying that in terms of touchdowns, you've got a top 15 receiver, I guess the 1,000 yards also was tied for 14th most in the NFL. So essentially, you've landed a mid-table starting receiver. That's not bad. You take that for all the flops that are out there in the first round. You take a receiver that can go up and get the ball, score 7 touchdowns, bring you in 1,000 yards. It's essentially what you want from a receiver, right? If you got a receiver that pulls you in 1,000 yards a season and 7 touchdowns, I would class that guy as a good receiver. It's like a Tyler Lockett.
Yeah, I mean, 1,000 yards is a minimum for a receiver, isn't it?
A good receiver.
It's either a 1 or 2.
Yeah.
And they've got they obviously need to replace Mike Evans. He's going to retire at some point in the next couple of years. He obviously had a real injury-riddled season this year, broke his streak of 1,000 yards. But yeah, he's obviously, I think he's going to be in fact, sorry, I'm talking about Ibuka. But
okay. Yeah.
With McMillan, he's exactly what they need at the Panthers. He's going to be, well, he's their number 1, isn't he? But whether you bring another guy in so that you've got a sort of like 1 and 2, because that other guy just won it, the Leggett.
He was not. And I think it goes to show you as well what bringing somebody in like that can do. As much as they scraped, and it was a scrape, into the playoffs, that was the difference between this year and last year for them, right? Having a receiver that can catch 1,000 yards, catch 7 touchdowns is probably the difference between them being blown out in the NFC South and making the playoffs in what is a poor but tight division. So I think it was probably the right decision, and that's why he's probably had the impact that took them to the playoffs, given them a bit of hope, bit more eyes on Bryce Young, who's got somebody he can actually throw to. He made a good impact. So I think I've kind of come around to the fact that Ted McMillan is probably the right candidate.
Yeah, agreed.
Nice. Cool. On the other side of the ball, defensive rookie of the year. Now, I think the caliber was higher in terms of players that ultimately made differences on teams. So probably makes it a harder decision as to who to pick. But defensive player of the year, rookie, Dave, the candidates, if you want to take us through those, then we can talk about who we think should be there.
Yeah, so the finalists again: Abdul Carter, Giants linebacker. I say his name right. Nick Imamwarrior, so the Seahawks, DB/safety. James Pierce Jr., the Falcons. He's a defensive end. Carson Swessinger, who's a linebacker for the Browns. The Browns are poop. And then Xavier Watts, who's a safety at the Falcons, who, I'll be honest with you, I don't even know who he is.
He did have a good season. I did keep an eye on him because he was one of the earlier safeties to go in the draft, but he didn't have a season that I thought was like wowzers, but he was solid.
Yeah, I think Abdul Carter is massively overrated. I don't think he did anything. Attitude problems, like how he's a finalist for this is baffling to me.
I think it's the prof of being what was he? Was he the number 1 pick, or he was, wasn't he?
No,
he was the number 2 pick, was he?
I don't know. I can't remember.
But he was a top 5 pick for the Giants, wasn't he, last year?
Yeah.
So he's obviously profiting off his position and his name. And I saw him in the flesh and watched a lot of him because I had him in fantasy because I thought he could be like a Micah Parsons. And he just didn't have it. He didn't have the production. He was suspended either parts of games or full games because of his attitude. And he was just, I think, whether it's because he was on the field or not, but he was just absolutely shadowed by Brian Burns, wasn't he?
Yeah, and you'd think he's in a system there where you'd have thought he wouldn't have got that much attention, and maybe he could have got loads of sacks and tackles for loss, because you've got Brian Burns one side who had an all-pro kind of season, Dexter Lawrence in the middle, who's obviously a menace. You've also got Kayvon Thibodeau. They've got some absolute studs on that defensive line, and he just, for me, he didn't really do anything.
No,
that warrants this kind of. I don't think he's probably gonna get any votes or anything, but I think same as kind of James Pierce Jr. I don't think he came on a bit towards the end of the season, but he didn't have a great rookie year.
No.
I think
you didn't hear his name until the last quarter of the season at all.
No. And again, he's playing on a great. The Falcons' defense is definitely not great, but it's good. They've got a good defense. A good defensive-minded head coach. Who's putting people in the positions to do something. And God, they were on the field enough. For me, again, it's that between two people. It's I would say that your safety is the one that I would give it to. I think Swessinger had a great season as a middle linebacker, but he's just a bit of a tackling, good in pass coverage. Not necessarily. I don't think he did I think he did his job.
Agreed.
I don't think that he was like necessarily a game changer where you're like your safety. I think he was making tackles behind the line of scrimmage constantly. He was stopping them screen. He was an absolute beast in the backfield.
I think if you were allowed, I think if you were allowed to bring the playoffs into this, which obviously you're not because the Browns aren't in the playoffs, and neither I don't think are any of the other players in this. But if you were allowed to bring the playoffs in, I think it's a hands down no questions, because post season, Emawari's been probably our best player on defense. And he's a rookie.
He's a stud, a full on stud. And I think that I don't know when they make I don't know if the votes have already been cast, before the playoffs start. Mm-hmm. I'm assuming that's what they do, and then they announce it afterwards. Because otherwise, there's no way there wouldn't be a bias that came into it from the playoffs. So they must do before.
For sure.
But I think if you've seen a game where he's played, he's an absolute monster. All you hear is his name. And I guess Schwessinger's had the advantage again of the Browns constantly being on defense all year.
True.
Probably why Myles Garrett can get his 23 sacks or whatever he had.
That's true.
It'd be interesting to see how many snaps this Schwessinger's played more than. It might be close. You never know. But
I mean, so just to cut it back, my two were the same. I think if you are just talking regular season, it's a lot closer. And Schlesinger was just a good linebacker. It's a hard position to play in your first year, apparently. You've got to be very cerebral. You've got to understand plays. You've got to be able to diagnose plays and have that awareness. So not an easy task. And he was everywhere, like he would have been a good fantasy pickup, load of tackles, but you never really saw him sacking the quarterback. You never really saw him picking people off, aside from I think the one I remember was like a battered ball that ended up in his hands. So it wasn't even like a good read of the play. It was just, he was in the right place, right time, which again is good. It's what you want to be for a linebacker. But he was just like a good linebacker. Whereas I think, for one, Emawari, you don't even know really what he is. Like, even me knowing the Seahawks, you don't know what he is. He's classed as a safety, but he plays down in the box. He plays some outside linebacker. He plays some nickel corner. He plays some straight corner, just because of the way that Mike McDonald runs the scheme. He's had snaps all over the field, 81 tackles, 11 passes defended, which is tied for 20th, in the NFL or something like that. An interception, and he missed the first four games. He got an ankle injury on the opening play against the Niners in game one. And so he didn't even play the whole season. And I think every week, it's a bit like Bo Nix last year. Every week you saw him getting better and better and better. And that's what I've seen with this guy. That every game he plays, he's like that little bit more twitchy, that he's allowing himself to make those decisions, and more than anything, stifles that crap offensive playbook that basically runs sideways, which I hate. Like the Shanahan system that you've called out a few times on the podcast. He's like the prototype to stop players doing that. So I think it's tighter than what you'd say.
I mean, I've just looked. He had 2.5 sacks and 2 interceptions. So he's
okay.
He's obviously had an impact. I do think it's between them two. I think it's not even close between the rest of them, but them two especially. I wouldn't be sad if either of them got it. I just think because I've seen both. We've played the Browns and we played the Seahawks, and I think the Seahawks, your guard defense, he was more memorable to me. Maybe it's because I was in the stands watching it as opposed to watching it on TV, but I think he made a bigger impact. So that's what I'm basing it on.
Okay, cool. I'm happy with that. I don't want to glaze the Seahawks. So I think that I would just say that they both had good ones, and whoever it goes to, fair play. Comeback player of the year. So this is maybe now where we differ a little bit. I don't know who you've got down, but with what's coming thereafter, this is about somebody who was down and out, either injured or, generally speaking, injured. I think they've got rid of the player that's like the unavailable player, but or the benched player, and now it's about resilience and redemption and return to form off the back of an injury. Comeback player of the year, CBPOY. It's an interesting award, this one. I do always think it should be recognised, but I don't know. I almost feel like it's the least impressive award just because, yeah, okay, you're coming back from being injured. It takes a lot of grit and fortitude, and you got to go through what's probably a lot of rehab and then return to form. So it's something to work towards, but I feel like it's maybe not one of the more impressive ones. Nevertheless, not taken away from it. Dave, candidates. Is there anybody who stands out on this one for you for specifically being a comeback player?
No, I don't really like the award, but the people that are the finalists are Stephon Diggs of the Patriots, he's a wide receiver, obviously. Aiden Hutchinson, the defensive end from the Lions. Trevor Lawrence, the lesbian from Jacksonville. Christian McCaffrey, and then Dak Prescott. I'll be honest, I know that Diggs did his ACL. Hutchinson obviously did a horrible leg break. What was wrong with the lesbian last year?
I didn't know there was anything wrong with him. I didn't know that they were putting him in for this. Are they putting him in for this because did he have an injury, or is this like a return to form? I don't know. Is that
maybe he's post-op? That's why he's gone through the transition for being. He's no longer a lesbian. He's something else.
That's funny.
McCaffrey. Well,
both of his knees fell off last year. Or something weird.
He's constantly injured.
Yeah.
But I don't think it was it an ACL or something? I don't
No, it wasn't. It was like it was his knees, like his knees. Oh no, sorry,
Achilles,
calves.
Yeah, okay, so not a real injury either.
Calf disease.
Dak Prescott, just a cowboy. So is that his ailment? Was he's the quarterback of the Cowboys? Because he's obviously, I think he's won it before when he broke his leg.
Yeah, he snapped his ankle. The Giants, didn't he? But
yeah,
I don't know what was wrong with him.
No, so I'm going to discount every single one of them apart from Diggs and Hutchinson because I don't think they had real injuries.
Yeah.
And I think it's Aiden Hutchinson is what I'm going to say. He came back from, in my opinion, the worst injury with broken, like, his leg mangled. Yeah.
Yeah.
And people come back from ACLs all the time. So I don't really like the award because I don't really know what the criteria is for it. Do you just have to have been injured last year? So does that mean Cam Ward can win it next year because he went out in the last game of the season?
I don't know.
And he comes back and he's not a mongoloid and he can throw the ball.
Yeah, I don't know. There must be like a stipulation of you must have, and maybe that's the thing with Dak and Trevor Lawrence or whatever. Maybe they did miss, a proportion of some games. Maybe that's what it is. Maybe you have to miss a certain amount of games with injury to be able to then be qualified for this award. But yeah, so you'd give it to Hutchinson. I mean, coming back from that vicious leg break, I can understand why you'd give it to him. I was a little bit disappointed with Hutchinson this year. Can't lie. And obviously, he's still a monster, and he was still everywhere, and he is the only pass rush that the Lions have got. But I felt like he didn't have the impact that maybe the Lions needed him to this year to like take him over the edge. I just never really felt like they were calling his name too frequently. Not quite what I was used to. Nevertheless, to come back from that, to be running full speed at the size that he is, he's a monster of a man, and still making sacks and plays. It's fair. Part of me, I mean, ultimately, I was going to give this to CMC, so Christian McCaffrey, but you have kind of made me think about the fact that what was wrong with his calves. He just had like double cramp all year, and so I mean, just to talk about McCaffrey, it's only because I'm not going anywhere else with him later on, so I'd be very, very inclined to give it to McCaffrey. He had 1,658 yards on the ground, and that's his career. That's the amount of carries. Sorry, in the regular season he had 1,200 yards on the ground, and he had 924 receiving for a total of just over 2,000. So you could understand why he could potentially qualify for something more, because he also had 17 touchdowns. I lost a couple of fumbles, but whatever. I think if he qualifies for it because of whatever ailment he had, I think that I'd probably give it to him because of other awards later on and who I'm gonna give those. So I can't see CMC walking away from this award show with nothing. That's for sure. And he could absolutely win Offensive Player of the Year. And there's a massive case for it. I just think that my decision for this award ultimately de facto gives this award to McCaffrey. So yeah, Stephon Diggs has done well though too, to even be in this conversation and be in a Super Bowl and whatever. And he was way, way, way better than I thought he would be this year.
Yeah, just so you know, Hutchinson had 14 and a half sacks this year.
Oh, did he?
Four forced fumbles.
Wow. Okay. I'd have guessed that maybe like 10 sacks. Yeah, that's pretty impressive.
14's an outrageous number. But,
yeah, it is.
But
he's done that quietly. Fair play. I mean, yeah, this one's up for grabs. I think like the worst injury was his, and he seemingly had the most impact with 14 sacks. If you could, McCaffrey's also had that. I think it's between those two for me. With a shout out to Diggs, he's getting on. He's got about 600 kids. Fair enough.
He's thrown one up Cardi B.
Yeah,
fair play.
Took one right up there. Good. Now we get to the meaty awards: MVP, Offensive Player of the Year, Defensive Player of the Year. I think this one's probably an easy one, but Cam wouldn't say so. Let's talk about the Defensive Player of the Year. DPOY, a game wrecker, a tone setter, an absolute nightmare on the other side of the ball for the offense. Where are we going for Defensive Player of the Year, Dave?
Yeah, so again, Will Anderson is a defensive end from the Texans. Nick Benito, linebacker for the Broncos. Myles Garrett, defensive end for the Browns. Aiden Hutchinson, defensive end for the Lions. And Micah Parsons, who is a defensive end for the Patriots.
Go, Pack, go.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to go to Myles Garrett regardless of what anybody else has done, because he broke the sack record, and that's something that's not been done. I mean, I know that TJ Watt equaled it, and I'm pretty sure he would have won Defensive Player of the Year. So
he did.
Yeah. Breaking it clearly means that Myles Garrett's gonna get the award. And do you know what? It's rightly so. Looking at Micah Parsons, I don't even know why he's on this list. Considering he didn't play, how many games did not play?
They lost the 7? Last 8 of the season, so 8 games, I think. Yeah.
So I don't know how that qualifies it when you play 9 games to be on this list.
I guess the difference with that is that they didn't win a game without him. Literally didn't win a game without him. So you'd say that that's more of a most valuable player on the team, not not Defensive Player of the Year across the whole NFL, is it?
Yeah. Maybe I'll give Micah Parsons Defensive Player of half the year. Defensive Player of the 6 games
of the Packers.
Yeah, of the Packers. He's the best. Yeah. He was the best defensive end on the Packers for 7 games.
I agree. Concur.
Yeah, and then Will Anderson's obviously been great. He's great. He's got the benefit of playing opposite to Neil Hunter, who is also great
on this list. Yeah.
Quite easily. Nick Benito's been great as a linebacker for the Broncos. Broncos defense has been great. Hutchinson, we've just spoke about him, but Myles got 23 sacks.
Yeah,
it's never been done.
Yeah. No,
when something's never been done before, it's very easy to just hand the award over to them, and rightly so. So
yeah, I agree. I think we've spoke about Myles Garrett a number of times on the podcast, and whether some of those sacks, even a handful of them, were because of a favourable decision or some half sacks or some whatever. Like ultimately, you're still talking about a guy who has been in this conversation since he was drafted. He's put up double-digit sacks every year. He's leading most metrics for sack leaders under whatever age he is. He's eclipsed most good or great edge rushers, and now he sort of sits almost standalone with a few of the best. And to break a record, even with a couple of favourable calls, I think you just can't ignore it. And I think it would be unfair, because the Browns are ass and because Myles Garrett's made some questionable decisions and not gone to a winning team or whatever. You can't penalise him ultimately for that. The man goes out there and plays football every week and makes his defence 10 times better by just being out there. So he's a beast of a man, isn't he? Like we've said it enough. Whether there's no point in labelling it, it's just he's one of the best. That's it. And this year got the most sacks.
Yeah. Like you say, he's a stud, isn't he? What more can you say? He's obviously the sacks thing's what's done it, I think. So
yeah, agreed. Defensive Player of the Year, Myles Garrett. We're aligned. This is where we may differ. Offensive Player of the Year, pure production, pure dominance, yards, tuddies, on offense. Dave, the candidates, and then where you're going to give it. And this is a really tough one. This is hard.
Yeah. So the candidates are, in a minute, Okay, so Jackson Smith from the Seattle Seahawks, Christian McCaffrey of the 49ers, Puka Nacua, the Rams, Bijan Robinson of the Falconies, and Drake May of the New England Patriots.
Okay, I forgot about some of those names on that list, to be honest, and not because they don't deserve to be there, but just because I forgot. Let's talk about some of the ones that, well, maybe will win it, but I don't know. Don't think will. I don't think Bijan's got a chance at all of winning it. I think he was good. I think he carried his team in moments and is a great running back, but he's not even the best. Wasn't even the best running back. Wasn't even. I don't know. I'd probably pick 2 or 3 over him even now.
Yeah.
McCaffrey was obviously better than him. I think Gibbs was better than him. Saquon is better than him, but just didn't have that year. I think, yeah, it's a weird one for him to be on that list, I think.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know what he did this year. Let me have a quick look. So he finished the season with 1,478 yards, 7 touchdowns, and then 820 receiving yards.
Okay, so he breached 2,000, which is...
so 11 total touchdowns. He fumbled 4 times, though.
I mean, that 2,000 yards is probably what's got him there, isn't it? Because that's massive.
Again, I just don't think he's had the impact, I don't think he's obviously the best player on that team, but when your team doesn't really do a lot, it's not really that difficult, I guess.
Yeah, I get what you mean.
I mean,
not for me either.
No, I don't think, again, Drake May, I don't think he's done. I mean, Drake May is difficult because you can look at the Patriots, and he is the best player on the Patriots this year. He's thrown for 4,000 yards.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to think about the other players. McCaffrey, he's the best player on their team. Puka, you could argue that Stafford's the best player on their team this year. He's been unbelievable. JSN, the best player on the Seahawks. I'm going to give it to JSN. I am.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I feel like I've been up and down on whether I was going to give it to McCaffrey. I do think if I had to pick any receiver in the league to be the number 1 receiver on the Titans, I think I would pick Puka Nacua. But I think JSN has been the game changer all year for the Seahawks, and I think Nacua, it's obviously a 1-2 punch with him and Devontae Adams, and JSN hasn't had that. It's been him on his own. He's carried the offense essentially when you've not had a good running game for basically the first 14 games, 13 games. Yeah. They've definitely pulled the finger out going in the last couple of games and then going into the playoffs. And your defense is very, very good, but ultimately you need to have somebody on the other side of the ball, and I think JSN's that. So I'm going to say Jackson Smith is the Offensive Player of the Year.
Wow, I didn't think you were going to call that one out, Dave. That's fair. I feel bad for getting glazing my players, but I mean, the hard thing for me to do and say is that I do think that Puka Nacua is the best receiver in the league. I think he's better than Chase Jefferson. I do think he's probably a better receiver than JSN, just because he can do that little bit more. I think he's just that little bit more solid and a little bit more rough. But then JSN's smooth like butter. But I think a smooth receiver that can catch and make themselves wide open versus a receiver like Puka Nacua who can do that, but also catch contested and body bag people and take jet sweeps into the backfield and just kind of, he almost feels like he's a receiver that can put a team on his back, like it's just throw me the ball and I will catch it and I will come down with it no matter what. JSN's got a little bit of that in him, and we've seen that sort of in the playoffs as well. But if we go in regular season, it would be between them two for me. And I think because JSN's ultimately finished with the more yards and was on track but never did break Megatron's record, I think, again, you have to sort of maybe go with him just because it's down to stats. And he was in a team that was not a pass-heavy team. Yeah, I think he's done more with less. Like you say, Devontae, 17 touchdowns. If Puka would have had some of them or all of them, then it wouldn't even be a conversation. I feel like Devontae's come in and stripped Puka of a bunch of touchdowns, and he had enough of his own. So, yeah, And then because I gave McCaffrey this comeback player, I think McCaffrey's got a good shot of it. I think in the NFL honors, I think there'll be a lot of conversation about McCaffrey being that guy. And I don't actually think JSN will get it, but I think I would give it him. And yeah, awesome to know that you'd give it him as well, because sometimes you sit there and you think, I'd give it JSN, but then I think, am I being incredibly biased, or am I just trying to look at things for what they are? But it would be tight, again, between Puka and JSN. They're both amazing.
Yeah, they both had great years, so it's helped. I know Maka is probably listening. He's probably been going like, why is not Chase? Why is Chase not in here? Because he weren't that good this year, mate.
No.
1,400 yards is mid. He's basically Tetero McMillan, but they made the playoffs, so he's not even that good.
Yeah.
And the same as, Jefferson, great receiver, undoubtedly great receiver. He's then essentially me throwing the ball to him. So I'm assuming Wise had a down year. Obviously, Burrow was injured for a lot of it, and then even when they came back, he weren't necessarily great. So I think this year, Puka's took that mantle as the best receiver, and JSN slightly behind him. But I do think JSN means more to the team than what Puka does. So
sure,
that's why JSN's getting.
Alrighty. Last but not least, certainly not least, MVP. Most valuable player, the biggest award there is at the NFL honors. This goes down in history books. This counts towards a trip to Canton and the Hall of Fame and all of that jazz. It's a massive, massive award. Who is going to get to lift the MVP trophy, Dave?
So it is going to be a toss-up between Matthew Stafford.
Tosh me.
He's going to tosh me up between Matthew Stafford. That went Irish. Apologies to Scottish and Irish people for me butchering your accents. Matthew Stafford of the Los Angeles Rams, QB. Drake May of the Patriots, quarterback. Josh Allen of the Buffalo Bills, quarterback. Lesbian Lawrence, quarterback from the Gimpy Jags. And Christian McCaffrey, running back from the 49ers.
McCaffrey's in like every category. If he was a cornerback, he'd probably be in defensive and all.
Yeah, crazily good though, that's why.
Yeah, he is.
It's Stafford for me. I don't think it's particularly close. I mean, you can probably say Drake May, but Stafford for a period of time in about 25 touchdowns and 2 picks or whatever it was, till he went on a mad run and threw like 3 in one game. He's been consistent, considering he didn't play preseason games. He was out of a bad back for the whole of the preseason.
Yeah,
he just come in and actually absolutely caught fire. Drake May's the only person who's been closest to him. I don't think Josh Allen, Lawrence, and McCaffrey will probably even get a vote for this.
No,
it'll be between Stafford and Drake May, and I think Stafford he'll clean up. I
mean, Stafford had 46 touchdowns and 8 interceptions. That's as clear when we talk about it, and we've spoke about it a number of times this year and over the course of many years. When we've spoke about like Mahomes' 50 touchdown season, Brady's 50 plus, Manning's record setting 55. 46 is pretty close, isn't it? Like that's as close as I feel like we've seen in a while. And like, this is passing. This is passing touchdowns as well. So you're sort of taking out that Josh Allen, Lamar, Mahomes sort of multifaceted touchdowns and just going, this man, Matt Stafford, has slung 46 touchdowns this season and only thrown 8 picks. I think it's not even close, especially when you look at how he's done it and like just the confidence that you've got in Stafford to, when they get into the red zone, throw a perfect fade to Devontae Adams or a nice little swing out route, to Puka Nacua, or find one of his running backs on a little drag. Like it's inevitable. It feels like with him. I wouldn't say Drake May. I mean, Josh Allen has got a little bit of that inevitability about him, but clearly not, because he can't make a Super Bowl to save his life. And then anybody else in this, they don't feel inevitable. I feel like Matt Stafford has got that, like Agent Smith from Matrix in him, where he is inevitable, or Thanos.
Yeah. And I mean, when you look at it, I think Drake May won more games. He had a higher completion percentage. But Stafford he absolutely dominated this season, How many yards did he throw for this season?
4,700, I think. 4,700.
Yeah. That's outrageous. And Drake May threw for 4,394, so he's had a good season. But he threw 15 more touchdowns and the same amount of interceptions. Drake May obviously beat some of the rushing yards because Stafford's about as mobile as me.
Yeah.
He's just had such a great season, and like you say, the amount of touchdowns that he's thrown, 46, it doesn't happen very often.
No.
And I think that needs to be, and he's never won one. That also plays a part in it.
It's a legacy thing for him. I think he's cementing himself as much as he's won a Super Bowl. He could have got there again, if the wind changed slightly in the Seahawks Rams game, and it's just another mantelpiece thing for Matt Stafford to basically go, I am and have been as good as almost any quarterback in, that's not Tom Brady and maybe Patrick Mahomes, but even so, he throws the ball just as well.
So you think he's a Hall of Famer?
100%. 100%. I think with his numbers, if he wins this MVP award, I would say Matt Stafford now becomes a Hall of Famer. Yeah, I think he would. I think whether he'll get in or not, I don't know. I mean, look at Bill Belichick, lol. But whether he gets in or not, and I don't agree with that Bill Belichick thing, by the way. I think he should get in. I think he should have been a first ballot.
He should have been unanimous.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. So maybe we'll talk about that another time. Yeah. But that's ridiculous. But I think with Stafford, when you look at all these players who've broken receiving records, they're all him.
Yeah.
They're all Stafford. And I really think, I'm talking Megatron, Cooper Kupp, Puka, that. I think that he is underrated. And I think he's been underrated his whole career. And it's because he hasn't won, and the Lions still had massively losing seasons with him but he's not been the problem. Maybe a few in his younger career, a few too many turnovers and whatever. But he's been an Iron Man. He used to take massive hits and get up. Now he's not in that sort of time of his life. I think we'll see a huge fall off just in quarterback play when he eventually retires. I just think he's so underrated. It is not a coincidence that Puka, Cooper Kupp, Devontae with 17 touchdowns, Megatron now. It's not a coincidence. When he throws the ball, it is unbelievable. It's amazing. I hate going against Matt Stafford multiple times a year because he cuts you up. Whether that accounts to a gold jacket, I don't know, but I just think that he's as good as a throwing quarterback as you could see.
Yeah, he's Pro Football Reference have got a quarterback tracker,
right? And
he's not near it.
What for Hall of Fame?
And when you look at maybe why, he's only a 3-time in 17 seasons. He's only been to the Pro Bowl 3 times. He's been an All-Pro once. He's a Super Bowl champion, but didn't win the MVP.
Yeah,
he's won Comeback Player of the Year, and his quarterback record is 120 wins to 118 losses.
Yeah, it's poor.
It's such an odd thing. I like the Hall of Fame monitor on it, and if you've not checked it out, people listening, it is worth it. Yeah, they reckon they obviously score things like winning the Super Bowl, winning MVP, whether you're an All-Pro, whether you're a Pro Bowler, a number of years you're a starter, games won, blah blah blah. Everything goes into it, And the average score is 108, and he's actually set at 95.
Right.
But there are people that Kurt Warner's below him. I don't know if the ones. Okay, so the people that actually are Pro Hall of Famers that are also below. I mean, Patrick Mahomes is below that, 108. Bart Starr, Terry Bradshaw, he's got 4 Super Bowls. Roger Staubach's got 2 Super Bowls. Eli Manning's got 2 Super Bowls. There's a lot of, not that he's
they're under the threshold.
Yeah. I mean, Josh Allen's way down there. He needs to win some Super Bowls. That kid does. Obviously, that's not a guarantee of it, and I think he should be a Hall of Famer. He's not going to be a first ballot, obviously, but
no.
I think playing on them lines for all them stinky years has not done him any favours. But
no, if you're looking at the last quarter of his career.
Oh yeah, he's been unbelievable with the Rams. And it shows you fit, doesn't it? When he was Fat Stafford, Detroit. Putting all the passing records up, and I guess that's the reason they had all them passing records, because they were behind trying to win games, throwing the ball, trying to win games. But
true,
yeah, In
Now he's
terms of
got-
this year, I think he's definitely going to win the MVP.
Yeah, I agree as well. I don't think there's anybody. Josh Allen on that list doesn't deserve it. Drake May, I don't think does, and I'm really aware that I don't want to throw too much shade at Drake May and then all of a sudden watch him cut the Seahawks up if that was to happen. I really hope it won't. But yeah, I think ultimately Matt Stafford has been that guy, and Christian McCaffrey's been great. He's always great, but he doesn't make the type of impact that Matt Stafford makes. He's not even close. 46 touchdowns. Matt Stafford accounted for 46 touchdowns. Nobody even comes anywhere near it. So I think he gets it. And that is our NFL Honors end of season awards in the End Zone UK special. We move on to segment 2. And there'll be a few that we discuss very quickly and briefly as to what their impact will be. And there'll be a few that we delve a little bit deeper into. But this is head coaching moves and off-season chaos. So this season, there has been, I think, a record number of coaches fired, resulting in coach vacancies. We've had the Arizona Cardinals, the Falcons, the Ravens, the Bills, the Browns, the Raiders, the Dolphins, the Giants, the Steelers, and the Tennessee Titans. So just to talk to some of those that are maybe slightly less exciting, Dave, I absolutely want to get your opinion on the Titans and what's happening there, and I want the listeners to hear about that. So we'll save the Titans for last. But what we'll do now is get into head coach and coaching changes. Now in the NFC West, this was I think something that probably had to happen just because of the nature of the division. You've got the Seahawks, you've got the Rams, and you've got the Niners. I mean, good gracious, in terms of coaching capability, McVay, McDonald, and Shanahan. And then you've got Jonathan Gannon running around trying to make the Cardinals relevant, and they fired him, and they've parted ways, and they've hired Mike LaFleur, who's come over from, I believe, from the Rams. Could be wrong, but I think he's come over from the Rams. And real quick one on this one. What do you reckon to, 1, Jonathan Gannon going, 2, them bringing in a coach from another team in their division?
Yeah, who the hell would want to go and coach the Cardinals? I mean,
not many people.
They were the last team to, or not the last team, because the Raiders haven't announced it yet, but it's going to be your offensive coordinator by the look of things. But the Cardinals, there was a lot of candidates out there. Who the hell would want to, especially if you're a retread and you know exactly what the NFL was all about, who the hell would want to go and coach the Cardinals and have to face the Seahawks, the Niners, and the Rams 6 times? Yeah, no, that's 6 of your games. They don't. I don't envy anybody going into that situation, but yeah, I think I'm guessing he's the Packers' head coach's brother.
He must be. LaFleur's brother.
They're all from that McVay tree, so yeah. I mean, I don't really like it. What do you even do there? Who's your quarterback for next season? Are they going to stick with Kyler Murray? Or are they going to, surely not Jacoby Brissett? Are they going to draft somebody? Is there anybody even there worth drafting? I don't think so. So it's a tough one for them. It's a tough one.
It is. Yeah, I think one thing that is that they've got their work cut out. And I think obviously it's gone to somebody who is taking a step up into that head coaching realm, because existing head coaches probably don't want to touch it. It's a good opportunity and a good payday for Mike LaFleur to move from the Rams, take what he knows from Sean McVay, and try and make something. I mean, I guess maybe that's the best place you go, because you're sort of, well, it's not the best place you go, that's for sure. But maybe it's a potentially positive place to go, because you at least now know that you're going to have to face the Rams. You know what they're about, so you can maybe take a bit of that, maybe take a bit of the knowledge of what works against them. I don't know. Sean McVay's so good that I'm sure that won't happen, but I feel like it's like better the devil of all the people who's going to take a job, better that you've got some insight than somebody coming from, a coordinator coming from like the AFC who's never played the Seahawks and the Rams and the Niners and going, holy crap, what we go against. At least you kind of know what you got to deal with. You've maybe got a bit of a game plan. Doesn't mean you're going to win, but it means that you at least know. Yeah.
Yeah,
Anyway,
they've got a little bit of money, 42 million to spend. I don't know who they've got to pay on their own team or whatever, but
that
you
money will
probably,
jump up if they are able to do something with Kyler Murray, I'd imagine.
yeah, I agree.
And I think they should. I think his time in Arizona needs to be gone. They need to rebuild and retool, and it's a good opportunity. They've got a high pick and they've got some cash, and if they get rid of him, they've got more. So yeah, good. The next one, Atlanta, the Falcons. They fired Raheem Morris, who's actually now gone to the Niners as a defensive coordinator. We're not going to talk about that really because it's not a head coaching job, but I think that's another Niners move, don't you think, Dave? Just them recopying another head coach caliber defensive coordinator, and their defense is going to be sick again.
Yeah, like he's from there, and so
yeah,
he's. I'm surprised nobody hired him as a head coach. So I think he's going to be one of those guys who shows how good the Niners defense is. I mean, in my ideal world, they absolutely shit the bed without Robert Saleh, but it's unlikely, and I'm guessing he'll be available next year. But yeah, the Falcons, who did they hire?
They've hired Kevin Stefanski from the Browns.
Oh, yes, of course they have, yeah.
I don't like him at all. I think he's a knob, but he's apparently a great coach. So
yeah, obviously they snapped him up pretty quick. I think the Titans were meant to interview him, but he didn't even get to us. So good for them. How good did the Browns look? If you take him to the playoffs twice.
Yeah.
And yes, I guess he's essentially gone into the same situation there where his quarterback, who's the quarterback there?
Michael Penix.
So it's either Penis or it's Kirk Cousins, isn't it? Penix can't stay healthy.
No, I think it's a difficult place. It's not a difficult place to go. They've got a pretty solid roster aside from the quarterback, but that's been the issue for the Browns before, hasn't it? When they had Odell and they had Nick Chubb and they had Landry and Njoku. Like on paper, what a great offense, and then just didn't amount to anything because Baker was injured, and then now he's got the same sort of thing. Bijan, London, Kyle Pitts, but Kyle Pitts is a free agent, could be a Titan. Yeah, I don't know. I think I don't like this move, to be honest, because I don't like Stefanski. But I think it's almost like a like for like. I don't think it makes the Falcons potentially way better. I think it keeps them relevant, and I think they're going to still be middle of the road. For me, that's how I see this hire. I don't think it's going to take them to the upper echelon.
No, I think it might result in playoff, but then you look at the NFC South and it's anybody's, isn't it? That is actually anybody's division. Yeah,
it is. Baltimore Ravens. This was a big off-season move away from John Harbaugh, somebody who's been a cornerstone of their franchise for a long while, won a Super Bowl, built a team that's been relevant and gone to numerous playoff games and AFC Championship games, and still not done the business in the last 10, 12, 13, 14 years, I think, probably, since they last won a Super Bowl. And they binned him off. He's gone. And they'd hired Jesse Minter. And I think when this happened, me and you were like, what? And he's come from the Chargers, defensive coordinator. And they had a great defense this year, ultimately, I guess, did the Chargers. It was top 3 in rush defense. I think they had a reasonably good pass defense with not necessarily the greatest of pass, like secondaries, I guess, apart from Derwin James. But I think that the Ravens are trying to get back to maybe their old roots of like defense, ask less of Lamar, because they've got the players, haven't they? If you can get a defensive coordinator to come in and get Kyle Hamilton rolling and Roquan Smith, Humphreys, Wiggins, they've got some players. I think their front line, their defensive line is maybe missing a trick or two, but it's a team that you could probably G up a little bit.
Yeah, and that's obviously where they've gone. They've gone back for that. I think we said this before, didn't we? He was like the 2IC for McDonald when he was there as their defensive coordinator.
Right.
So I think they've obviously know him. They've looked at the Seahawks, seen what they've done, and been like, you know what, we'll have you back.
Yeah.
It's such a retarded thing what they've done. You've got a world class elite quarterback, and it's the same. They're in the same. They've done the same thing as the Bills. rather than sacking everybody, why don't you sack your GM and get your all-world quarterback some actual help? Get him somebody you can throw the ball to that's not a 35-year-old DeAndre Hopkins or a double ACL teared Odell Beckham. Yeah. They've got no wide receiver help whatsoever. They've got Mark Andrews, who's a shadow of his former self. That Isaiah Likely's not took the leap this year that I think they thought he would do. And I think he's been injured. Lamar's obviously been injured. But he has to run around like his hair's on fire to try and to do anything. And I don't think Harbaugh, wow, he's going to get a shock when he goes to the Giants and he realises that nobody on offense can do anything for them.
Yeah.
I don't know. It just seems like a whole
huge
lot
regression.
of nothing, you know? I think so,
Yeah.
you know? If you don't think... Like, what was Harbaugh actually doing? He was a man manager. You know, he was a special teams guy. He wasn't running the special teams. He wasn't running the offense or defense. So what's actually going to change there? Your defense is going to get better, but your offense, like, he's going to bring someone in new to run the offense. I get that, but you've kind of just got to get Lamar just to get on with it. Like, you can't coach what he does, because what he does, nobody else in the history of the game has ever been able to do.
No, and you still
can't. I get it. You know, bring
yeah.
some dude in who's going to make your defense like what it used to be, hopefully.
Yeah.
I don't think it solves any of your problems on offense. And unless they address it in the draft by drafting a wide receiver, and now they've got a head coach that's a defensive player, so they're probably going to go defense. Like, what? I don't see what he's done for the team.
I feel like it's a little bit of a identity crisis with the Ravens for sure, because you're moving away from somebody who's been a legacy, you know, part of your team, but you feel like you have to, because ultimately the winning the biggest games were not there. It's a risky move. It's very much like the Bills, and we'll get to that one, I guess, whilst we're talking about it. It's like moving away from Sean McDermott. Sorry, did you want?
No, just both of them. Both of them teams have had stuff go wrong to stop them getting past the Chiefs or past the Bills, whichever way you want to look at it. Mark Andrews dropping the end zone, a Flowers fumble on the goal line. Yeah. They're plays. If them plays come off, they probably go to the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
That's not a coaching thing. That's a player mistake thing, you know. Mistakes happen. I'm not saying the players are at fault for them. You know, one was I guess the Andrews was a drop. The other was a great play by Snead. You know,
but it's circumstantial, isn't it? It's a circumstance as opposed to a strategy.
Yeah. And the Bills lost to the Chiefs when they did that elite game that changed the rules in the playoffs. That could, if you make one stop, they've got 13 seconds. You make one stop instead of letting Tyreek Hill take a slant 70 yards or whatever. You know, they're different games, and we're looking at this completely differently. But I don't know if it's them, like you say, them trying to freshen things up. But, you know, I mean, be careful what you wish for, because your team could go from being relevant for the last 15 years to being absolutely nothing overnight.
Yeah, true. I think that's the risk. I think that's the risk that the Ravens have taken, and we'll talk about the Bills now as well, firing Sean McDermott and hiring Joe Brady, who is their offensive coordinator ultimately. So it's nothing new. Nobody in the building, nobody from outside the building is going to come in and change Josh Allen's game. If anything, you're going to lose the experience of a Sean McDermott, who's a defensive guy, hire Joe Brady, hope that he can get Josh Allen firing on more cylinders than what he already does. Come on. Really? Yeah. Like, he's already as good as you can get. It is the same scenario, you're right, Dave, as Lamar. It's like, what are you doing?
You're looking for, when you're at them level, when you're the Titans, you need wholesale change. You know, that's something in the franchise has not been working. Wholesale change. Let's try and, you know, when you're the Bills, when you're the Ravens, the Niners, the Rams, it's the 1% you're looking for. You're looking for them incremental changes at some part. Like, I can look at the Bills and tell you now, they need a wide receiver. They need a solid wide receiver. One. How good were they with Stephon Diggs?
Yeah.
The sad issue is they came up against a Patrick Mahomes who had a Tyreek Hill and a Kelsey in their prime.
Yeah.
And it's the same as the Ravens. When was the last time the Ravens had a number one wide receiver? Who was it?
Anquan Boldin about 14 years ago.
Somebody let us know who their last great number one receiver was.
Yeah, Steve Smith.
They've not had one yet. Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
You get Lamar Jackson, somebody who can do the stuff that a number one receiver can do, and you'll see the benefits of it.
Yeah.
But like you say, the Bills sack essentially the guy who criticised the GM for basically saying our roster is not good enough. They've sacked him because he was speaking out. They've then hired in-house your offensive coordinator.
Yeah.
You know,
you've lost something there, haven't you? You haven't gained anything because what have you gained? You're ultimately going to gain an offensive coordinator, which is essentially probably going to be somebody who's pulled up the ranks. Yeah.
Yeah, they've hired a yes man essentially because that Brandon Bean, their GM, didn't like the way McDermott was talking to him.
Yeah. It's not the way to do business, is it?
No.
It doesn't seem it anyway. Cleveland Browns, I mean, this one's a weird one as well. You fire Stefanski, which is warranted because he's, his time has come in Cleveland. But then you hire Todd Monken. We've just been talking about Baltimore. So they've now lost their offensive coordinator in Todd Monken, who's gone to play and be the head coach of the Browns. He's now going to go from having Lamar to having Sanders or the other dude who I forgot his name of already, which, it's wild. We do in American football and I can't remember the name of their number one quarterback.
Dylan Gabriel.
That's it.
Well,
Dylan Gabriel. What's he supposed to do with them two? He's had Lamar.
Well, yeah, but he's got three because he's got Deshaun Watson coming back.
He's a potato.
Well, they're all potatoes, but I think when you look at, nobody wanted that job. Everybody was pulling their name out of the hat. Who did a first interview, nobody wanted to do a second one. Apparently, they make them do like loads of shit that like all the other franchises don't do. They make them do essays and stuff like that. And
come on, it's not high school.
No, so I think they were stuck with the dregs, the people that know. But did that Todd Monken even interview for anywhere else? I didn't hear it
in many places. No,
and he was specifically said that the Giants told Harbaugh that they did not want him with him to come as the offensive coordinator. So I don't know. I think that's I think the Browns are going to continue to be the Browns.
I agree. It's going to be funny.
With their minus 10 million in cap space, they can't really do a lot, can they?
It's so bad, isn't it? Minus 10
million. Even horrific contracts on their books.
Yeah. Wow. That is the Browns. They're such a poor poverty franchise, aren't they? They continue to stink it up, and they've now stunk it up with Todd Monken, Todd Monken, and I don't think they're going to be pulling themselves out of the mud anytime soon. Right, let's roll through the next few and then get on to Super Bowl talk before we leave our listeners. Vegas Raiders. This has not been a done deal, but they fired Pete the Meat Carroll. It had to happen. They were one of the worst teams in the NFL. Pete's play calling and the way he plays the game is just so dated now. He went back to like 2012 Seahawks style with players that were not fit for purpose and got battered every week. They're now probably going to hire Clint Kubiak, who's the offensive coordinator of the Seahawks. And obviously Super Bowl TBC yet, but look what he's done with Sam Darnold and JSN, Kenneth Walker, and some of our tight ends. He's obviously got a style. He's from shock horror, the Kubiak tree. He's a bit of a quarterback whisperer, and they're going to draft a quarterback. So I think that's probably going to help. And if he can unlock Genty and Brock Bowers, I still think they're going to have a hard sell on defense. But maybe he's probably just off the back of this one season, he's probably one of the best people to try to bring in a newish quarterback and try and work with them and find them. But they haven't got JSN, so how good can it go?
I don't know. I mean, they've obviously got Genty at running back. You've got Bowers, that Michael Mayer at tight end. So they've got some good weapons, I guess. Who's their number one receiver? I don't even know. They've obviously got a lot to address, but they got mega cheddar. They've got 91 milliones. So they're in a good position financially in terms of what they can do in free agency. I just don't know. Again, who are they going to bring in as defensive coordinator? Who's gonna run that side of the ball?
I don't know. They got some good picks. It's probably a good spot to go for somebody who's trying out to be a head coach. You know, loads of picks, loads of money. And the only problem is you don't have a quarterback or a defense.
Yeah.
Oh dear. A couple more speed through these. Dolphins. They've hired Jeff Hafley, who is the Packers defensive coordinator, and the Packers defense wasn't like all that this year. They fired Mike McDaniel as an offensive guy. Where's Mike McDaniel gone? He's gone. Chargers as an offensive coordinator. Good for him. Yippee. I think this is a non-factor move for the Dolphins because I can't really tell you what they've got on defense, to be honest. They've got 2 good linebackers. That's about it. So, and that's, you know, Jeff Hafley, Packers. I think what it does is potentially has an issue with the Packers. If he was a good coach, you don't want to be losing more from that Packers defense. They've got no money, no secondary. It's going to be tough, I think. Obviously, the Packers are a good team. I'm not saying that they're in a really bad place, but they can't really bring much else in without cutting existing pieces from their roster. And then New York Giants, we spoke about it. John Harbaugh has gone in. Brian Daboll got fired. This is a total new retooling, not rebuild, but refranchising, I guess, of the New York Giants. Let's bring somebody in who's used to winning, used to getting to some of the bigger games in the season, and maybe hope that Harbaugh can do what he needs to do. But I don't think they're playing with the best tools. You know, Malik Neighbors is class. Aside from that, on offense, I don't believe in Dart. I don't believe in CTE Scatterbo. Their tight ends are average. Their offensive line is average. And their defense is good and probably could get better. With a lot of money and a lot of picks, he at least has some cards to play as John Harbaugh. And they've got rid of Brian Daboll, which is
well, I mean, they've only
news for you.
They only got $7 million in cap space, so
have they?
Doesn't look like they've been doing much of it. But I mean, their defense is good. You know, they've got a good front 7. But yeah, it's that offensive side of the ball. You know, and I think that once people have got a full off season to look at what Jackson Dart can do, I don't think is a hard puzzle to solve.
No,
you know. But again, we'll see. I don't know who he's going to bring on. Like, I don't focus a lot on the Giants. I don't really know who he's going to bring in that's going to run them sides of the ball. I guess that'll dictate a lot.
Yeah, we'll see. It's a tough place to be there, just being in the NFC and then in that division that could potentially step up a notch, I guess, this season. Steelers have hired Mike McCarthy, fired Mike Tomlin, who's obviously head coach for the last, I don't even know, 19 seasons, I think it was. And yeah, this is a non-factor to me. This is literally like swapping one in, one out. I think you're getting almost exactly the same as what you're going to get from Tomlin. I think they're going to be it'll be another 9-8 win, first round of the playoff bounced Mike McCarthy Steelers team. And maybe I'm seeing it wrong, but I think it might be. But it probably means Rodgers comes back for one more year. Yeah,
he's an offensive guy, and so maybe their offense will step it up a little bit. You probably only need somebody to control the defense. Got a lot of veterans on that team, and their defense is obviously stout.
Yeah, but aging.
Yeah,
isn't it? Like when you look at some of the players that you think, okay, I mean, TJ Watt's always going to be a beast until he's not. But Cam Hayward's old. Even like Jalen Ramsey is old. Like I think it struggles in places, but like you say, maybe that's the reason. You know, they want to bring some offense. They've got DK. They've got a couple of pieces that look quite good. A couple of good tight ends, but it doesn't excite me at all, and neither does Mike McCarthy at all. I'm so bored with that signing, but that's good because I don't really like the Steelers either. Sorry, Steelers fans, and you know you're probably going to win a few games and then get bounced out of the playoffs again. And then last but not least, Tennessee Titans, new coach Robert Bobby Saleh, and now pretty likely offensive coordinator Brian Daboll after firing Brian Callahan, which needed to happen middle of the season. So he's coming over from the 49ers, Dave. Robert Saleh, he's a defensive guru, and they're giving him a 5-year contract to turn things around. And Saleh's been saying some pretty inspirational stuff to the media. And I think it's exactly what you wanted, right? You wanted a defensive-minded guy who can protect Cam Ward, not ask him to do too much. I think it's pretty cool. And then to get Daboll in, be a bit of a quarterback whisperer as the OC. He did a lot of good things, great things with Josh Allen in his early years. Maybe I mean, if you can replicate the different players, but you replicate something like that, I think this is, I don't know whether it's just because it's the podcast or not, but I think this is probably one of the more exciting moves, because I think it's what the NFL, it's where the NFL is succeeding right now in bringing in amazing defensive minds to get the best out of players, to get the best out of Big Simmons and some of your players like Snead, who could be elite and just needs to be unlocked. I think that's what we want to see from the Titans. So take it away. How are you feeling about all that?
Yeah, I'm obviously happy. You know, I wanted somebody who's going to be like an established guy. I didn't really want to take a punt on a guy. It was his first turn again. Salah was obviously with the Jets. Never really had the quarterback. He's obviously got the quarterback now. We've got 105 million in cap space, which is the most in the league.
Wow.
Which is that, I mean, that's going to jump. That's going to jump to about 120 if they cut Calvin Ridley. So we've got a lot of money to do a lot of things with. Obviously, the fourth pick in the draft as well. Got some decent draft capital, but it's more what he's going to bring. The fact that he's going to be the play caller on defense. You know what those 49ers defenses that he's had. You know, he's made especially last season. You know, their defense was good, and they were essentially playing with like fourth and fifth stringers. So I'm happy that he's got the chance to work with, you know, I mean, people like Jeff Simmons, Cedric Gray, Snead, if Snead can pull his finger out his arse and actually get on the field. We've got a lot of pieces to play with, and I think from the defensive side, you know, he didn't call defensive plays with the Jets. He had a defensive coordinator. He was just a head coach, but now he's going to be the defensive coordinator as well, which is great for us. And yeah, bringing in Brian Daboll was great. I couldn't be happier, especially because he was the one that was trying to get the Giants to trade up for Cam Ward, and now he gets the opportunity to be his quarterback, like his OC.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think Josh Allen looked his best when Brian Daboll was the offensive coordinator. You know, he had him from when he was drafted for the first sort of like 4 years.
Yeah.
I just think we need that true number one receiver to kind of help Cam Ward develop. You know, and I think Daboll's going to be the kind of guy that doesn't try and take what Cam Ward's good at, which is sort of the off-platform stuff, cross-body throws, the stuff that drives people insane, including me. But it seems to come off, you know, that Patrick Mahomes, just get out of the pocket and just make something happen kind of thing that, again, I'm not saying he's Patrick Mahomes, but he's got that ability. He's got that bit of magic. He can just escape the pocket and just make something happen.
Yeah, I think it's exciting. I think that the Titans is, I know it's not been the nicest of season for you this year, but I do think that it's one of the more attractive landing spots for coaches. And the fact that Salah's gone there, you know, he had the opportunity to go to other places and he's chosen this. And I think that speaks volumes. Like the Titans, not last year really, but the year before, their defense was fantastic. They've not really missed or lost much from there. And I think the fact that he can build on, you want key pieces, don't you? You want those superstars in positions. You've definitely got one in Simmons, and you've got solid linebackers and a half decent, I wouldn't say secondary, but safety. And Snead, if he is good, like I say good, if he's healthy and plays to his potential, you know, 2 years removed from being one of the best corners in the league, and he's been injured. So, you know, if he gets healthy. So I think having all that, and then a buttload of money, and then amazing picks in the draft, you know, you're at the top of every round, pretty much, you know, you're up there. So you can go and address those needs in so many ways and so many places, and it will just give him the ability to do that. And we've seen that happen. The Patriots, you know, like that has just happened. I feel like Salah is very much a Vrabel, like an ex-player, you know, somebody who's gritty. But I think, again, Salah calling plays on the defense is going to be massive, like Mike McDonald style, so that you can understand and have your finger on the pulse of the game. You know, if you're going like when he went to the Jets, their defense was amazing for the first 2 years he was there, phenomenal. And yeah, they had some good pieces. I'd probably say similar pieces to what you've got. You know, Quinn and Wilson down the middle and a couple of solid linebackers, but they were unbelievable. And I see that happening for the Titans. And I also think that your division is one to be grabbed. And I think that also makes it good. And for him to go there, it's Tennessee, the weather's always nice. You can walk across the street to go and have a beer in a honky-tonk bar. You're having a brand new stadium built. mean, I can't wait to go back and watch Bobby Salah win some games for the Titans. I'm keen for that. Super keen.
Yeah.
So I think it's cool.
Yeah, and hopefully, like you said, there's some players in free agency that will want to come and play for him, you know?
Yeah.
And that's great, you know. I want Pickens. I'd take Pickens and Pitts massively, but I'm sure most teams would.
Yeah. But most teams haven't got the money that the Titans have got. That's the difference.
No. Yeah.
So you can throw cash at things if you want. And it is kind of like, it is a bit of a Patriots scenario. And now it happens, and we'll get to talk about it in literally just a minute. But when you see teams like the Patriots go from nearly the worst to the Super Bowl with a second-year quarterback, like it's possible. You know, it's possible because you throw money at things to get established players, and you just never know. You know, the likelihood of that actually happening, you know, is probably pretty low, but the likelihood of it building and just being better, which is what you want, is, you know, I think is going to happen ultimately. Like, he's a better coach than the waffle that you've had in there for the last couple of years. So yeah, keen for that. Good. I mean, there's loads more that we could talk about with coaching and offensive coordinators and stuff that's moved, but we won't. We've got a whole off season to chat. We've got off season where we go into division dives and we talk about teams, coaches, players after the draft and after the free agency hits. So we will cover all that then. And now, just to finish segment 3, Super Bowl 60 mega preview. Now, we spoke about this on the last episode, Dave, but Super Bowl 60, like the Super Bowl, it's a milestone Super Bowl. It's a big one. It's in San Francisco. The Seattle Seahawks are taking on the New England Patriots. One trophy to be won. The matchup is fascinating. This was statistically the least possible Super Bowl in the last 50 years. If you'd have taken from the start of the season the odds of the Seahawks and the Patriots making the Super Bowl, put them together, in the last 50 years, there's not been a Super Bowl that's been such odds away from this happening, which, you know, I think is cool. Like, it's what football's all about, right? Changing the narrative, building teams, and just being able to make impact straight away. Sam Darnold, Mike Vrabel, JSN, you know, those types of players that have just, and coaches that have been able to turn franchises around. I think it's exciting. It's amazing. That's what football's all about, right? So, I mean, Seattle come in explosive on defense, confident. They've peaked at the right time. Like you say, they've got the run game going now, as well as a passing game and a defense that's just suffocating at times. They've been in overtime thrillers and divisional wars over the last few weeks, and it has been a war like the guys have had to go through. Seattle have had to go through, both the Rams and the Niners, twice at the end of the season, once in the playoffs, once in the regular season, just to be able to get there, to get the number 1 seed. So I feel like they'll be battle hardened and maybe a little bit bruised. New England have arrived the way in which I guess we just have to respect. They've been disciplined, composed. They've beaten the teams that have been in front of them. They've had a little bit of maybe luck, as has every team, I guess, or most teams that make the Super Bowl, but they know how to win. And I think that's what this is about, right? Both teams know how to win, and it's a bit of a match of chess coaching wise. So let's talk about that. The 2 quarterbacks in this game, Dave. Where would you put your trust in this game? The Super Bowl, Seahawks, New England.
I think my trust goes to the team which I think is the better overall team, which is the Seahawks. I think they've been consistently good on all 3 phases of the game, and I think that if I'm a betting man, which I am, I'll be placing my money on the Seahawks. I don't think, while I think that the Patriots are a good team, I just don't think they've got them game records. I don't think they've got anybody on offense who's up there with JSN. I don't think they've got anyone on defense that's as good as the package that you put out there. Your corners are better than theirs. Gonzalez is a beast, but your corners are better than theirs. Your safeties are better than theirs. Your linebackers are better than theirs. Your front 4, I think, as a whole, are better than theirs. And I don't think they're going to be able to do enough with the ball on offense to cause you problems.
Okay.
So,
which quarterback do you trust the most? Do you trust Drake May or do you trust Sammy D?
That's Sam Darnold. I think
You do?
Drake May's, he's a one. I've not seen enough of him consistently over the last couple of years. And you talk about the last 2 years. Sam Darnold's been one of the better. I'm not saying he's Patrick Mahomes, but he doesn't need to be. He's shown that he can win, and that's what matters, you know. And before Vrabel got there, Drake May won 4 games.
Yeah.
Yes, rookie, get it. But I just think that Sam Darnold has sort of taken that next step this season. You know, against the Rams, he was really, really good, and I don't think we've seen that performance from Drake May in the playoffs. So you got to favour the hot hand, and I think the hot hand is the Seahawks.
Okay. What about coaching in this game? How far does that play a part? You've got Vrabel, who's seasoned and has clearly made a massive impact, and then you've got Mike McDonald, who's fresh, green, obviously super aggressive on defense. My concern there is the moment maybe being.
I don't think it will be. I think he's shown that he's up for it. But it's not Vrabel, is it? It's McDonald versus McDaniel, the McDonald's classic. You've got
Josh McDaniel.
Yeah, with a tongue twister. Josh McDaniel, who's been there, done it, won Super Bowls. You know, he schemes up good offensive plays, but I don't think they've got the game changer that's needed. You know, I think your defense matches up really well. You stop the run really well. You know, you've got 2 studs up the middle. I can't see a world in where the Patriots can do enough. If you can handle the Rams at their best, I don't see how the Patriots can do anything on offense that will trouble your defense.
Okay. Here's a question for you. How can New England win then? You obviously said you can't see a world, but how, if there is a world, how do New England win this game? If you were
I guess pressure on Sam Darnold and force him to make mistakes, get more turnovers, and just try and establish the run. It's just so difficult. When you've not given up 100-yard rusher in 2.5 years or whatever it is, it's difficult for me to see. And you think about the caliber of running backs. You see Christian McCaffrey twice a year. In that period where you've not given up, I think it was Raheem Mostert and the Raiders that last put 100. Like he put 100 yards on you.
Right.
In that time, you've seen Kyren Williams twice. You've seen Christian McCaffrey twice. You know, if they can't get the job done, and the Patriots are so heavily reliant on that run game, if they can't get the run going, I don't think they've got any chance.
So turnovers.
So essentially, to answer your question, I think pressure on Sam Darnold for him to turn the ball over and then them utilize the run game. But like I say, I just don't think it's.
Yeah.
I don't think it's a good matchup for the Patriots.
Really? You see, I think, their defense has obviously looked really good in the playoffs so far. I think that they're going to sell out to get to Darnold, and that might open them up. Like if they do sell out, and it might just give that space for Kupp and Shaheed and JSN to like exploit over the top. But they do have some good corners who could maybe ride with them. Then they'll be playing a lot of man coverage and just going after Darnold. That would be how I would try and beat the Seahawks anyway. I would literally just be like, right, are your receivers better than our corners? Let's try it. Is JSN better than Gonzalez? Is Kupp better than Carlton Davis? Give us a go. And we'll send the house at Sam Darnold over and over and over and over. But I think if that is the way they play, maybe it's a little bit one-dimensional. Hopefully be able to see through it. But yeah, I think that would be similar to you. The only way I can see the Patriots winning. Bad Bunny's on at halftime. We don't want to talk about ICE and the potential deportations of people in the stadium, but ICE are going to be there as well, which is wild. But Bad Bunny's going to be doing a halftime show. He's just won a Grammy. So I don't know any of his songs. I don't know if you do, Dave, but I don't know a single one. But he's just won a Grammy for Best Album. So fair play to that man.
No, I mean, again, that means nothing. That's a load of people saying, yes, your music's good. It doesn't really matter to me. But if he was stood in a lineup of 3 people and you said to me which one of them is Bad Bunny, I would not get it right. I have no pure luck. I don't even know what he looks like.
No, I can't really describe him because I don't really know him that much either. I want to say he looks a little bit more like a Mexican Sacha Baron Cohen.
See,
I don't know.
obviously,
but
people like his music.
yeah.
I don't want to say his music's crap because I've never heard it. It definitely would not be my thing. But I mean,
I just hope that he brings out somebody good, because I think he's done a lot of collaborations over the years with, you know, big artists, and maybe we'll get a couple of collabs.
Unless he brings out Morgan Wallen, Luke Combs, Colter Wall, Zach Top, I probably don't even. Who knows? Although Lainey Wilson came out with Snoop Dogg, so
yeah,
who
you
knows?
never know. But they might try and synergize that country feel, but probably not on the West Coast. Probably not. Well, that's it. I mean, that's the Super Bowl talk. You've got the Seahawks, a defensive monster, going against what has been a high octane offense with Drake May over the course of this year, at least anyway. And that's the Super Bowl. We are going to be celebrating it, Dave, aren't we? In Hickories in Nottingham, in the End Zone crew, plus some listeners and friends and family, all going there in a private screening room. There's going to be beers and games and American sports style stuff happening. It is a night to remember. Super Bowl is what we all do it for. And for the first time in many, many, many years, over a decade, one of our teams is in the Super Bowl, and it's the Seahawks. So hopefully that'll add a little bit more pizzazz to the night. And for those out there who are watching it at home, get some Red Bull in, get some coffees, get cheering on your favourite team or the team that you want to win. For those who are going out to watch it, if you're going to be in Hickories, come say hello. If you're not, then enjoy the game wherever you are. We've got a long off season after the Super Bowl, so we may as well celebrate it as best as possible. This will be our essentially second to last episode of this season. Then we're going into the off season, and we will be here to talk about free agency and drafts and all of that lovely stuff. We won't be weekly, but we will be here for the big events during the off season. So look forward to that. But for now, this episode is Road to Super Bowl 60. Dave, you excited?
Yeah, I'm officially for one night and one night only a Seahawks fan.
Love that. And if Little Camo was on this podcast, which he's not, he would be cursing the fact that me and you might be supporting the same team for the first time ever. Camo will definitely not want the Seahawks to win. Those listeners out there know the amount of shit he gives me and the Seahawks, and doesn't want to see success for the Pacific Northwest. But either two of us will be happy and one won't, or he will be able to gloat and hold that over me for a very long period of time. We will wait and see. Looking forward to it. Thanks for listening. Please make sure you share this podcast with football-loving family and friends at In the End Zone UK on Instagram, on X, and everywhere else. So, Dave, I shall see you on Sunday at the Super Bowl with beers in hands, ready to cheer on the Seahawks.
Yeah.
Peace out.
Catch me balling like I'm in the end zone. I got my homies in the no new friend zone. You know, making plays that land us in the end zone. Coming in clutch, you can catch me in the end zone. End zone.